Hey there, I am D. So, much like last year, I went to the theater for the so-called Halloween night, where we were to see 3 horror movies in a row. I will say that tonight was, in comparison to last year, a bit more interesting. I mean, as I entered the theater, and well, obviously, I wasn't the only one going, but among everyone else, there was this one girl who was, well, either gothic or dressing up as a vampire, especially for the occasion. And, well, didn't really think much about her at the time. Okay, I did think she was interesting, to say the least. But really, she's just another girl among the crowd, so I didn't really think that I would see much of her, despite of her sticking out like that. So you can imagine my surprise if it turns out she actually had her seat right next to mine. I thought that was too good to be true. Seriously, it was too good to be true. She actually had her seat in the row before me, not next to me. Oh boy. Oh well, if it's any consolation, I suppose. Every now and then we did catch each other's eyes, and well, she did smile at me and everything. Yeah, I really need a girlfriend. That aside, so we've seen the movies, we all went home, and well, there was quite a thick fog hanging in the air. Uh, Up to a certain distance, I couldn't really make out much. Sometimes I'd see a source of light, but not be sure what's causing it. I'd see a shade, but I'm not sure if it's a person or anything else. I guess that really set the mood. I mean, it's supposed to be one of the scariest nights, if not the scariest night of the year, so we're really returning home in this thick fog, and all public transport is pretty much resting for the night, so I couldn't even take a bus or a trolley or anything. Well, like I said, it set the mood. Anyway, now you want to hear about the movies. Well, Buried. The title should be self-explanatory, but just in case, it's about a man that is buried alive. And that's pretty much the entire movie. I mean, the guy's in a box. Yes, a box, not a coffin. And that box is buried somewhere, and the entire movie is just showing what the guy's doing inside the box. No scenes outside it, no, only inside it. And I suppose it was an okay movie. I mean, it wasn't particularly a horror movie. I mean, there weren't too many gore effects or anything. It wasn't like the guy was seeing ghosts or whatever else you'd imagine. No, it was just him inside a box trying to survive. And the funny thing about that is, he has very little oxygen inside that box, and well, it's of course pretty dark in there, so unless they have some source of light, us, the audience, can't see anything. But what did he use as a source of light? A lighter. I am not kidding. One of those things that you have to click open, turn something on so a flame bursts out. A flame which pretty much burns up all the oxygen in his coffin. I'm sorry, but I can suspend a little bit of disbelief just because I know that there's to be some source of light inside the box, but this is really pushing it. But anyway, like I said, it's not really a horror movie unless you're a claustrophobic person. No disrespect or anything, but I suppose if you're claustrophobic, you would probably recognize the horror in this movie a lot more than I do. Devil. A movie produced by M. Night Shyamalan, that guy who made The Sixth Sense, and also based on a story written by the same guy. But he didn't actually direct this movie, which I suppose is a good thing. I mean, he did a fine job with The Sixth Sense, don't get me wrong, but with Signs he pretty much screwed up. And if I am to believe some people, because I haven't seen anything else by that guy, he also screwed up Unbreakable, The Village, and The Happening. And who knows what else that this guy made that I can't come up with right now. Anyway, Devil is supposed to be a first movie in a trilogy of movies talking about supernatural events in modern day society. How is that supposed to be any different from many other movies that have been made these past couple of years? Now well, for his sake I hope Shyamalan knows what he's doing. Now, how did this movie fare? Well, to be honest, I'm quite confused. I mean, if you want to look at this movie in depth, like bring up however the Bible, for instance, describes the devil to be, or how many people believe the devil to be, or then you're gonna get confused quite easily. So, but even if you just plain simply accept that the devil is a bad guy, then this movie's gonna confuse you even more, because in here he's more of a judge. Now, I'm serious, he's not really doing much evil unless you consider being a vigilante to be evil. That's exactly who he is, but more like a supernatural Rorschach than anything else. Oy. This one is supposed to be the last one in this series, but then so is number 6 supposed to be. Now I could also rant about the official title of this movie, Saw 3D, rather than just Saw 7. But then I am not James Rolfe, so I'll skip that. Now I will say, that this movie does seem a lot better than, well, the numbers 5 and 6 at the very least. But I think the 3D aspect has something to do with it. You see, if you've ever seen a good 3D movie, and I'm not talking about Beowulf or Avatar or any of that stuff, no. There's actually only one good 3D movie I saw, and that was Scar. Yeah, lesser known movie, but that's besides the point. When you watch a 3D movie, you actually get the impression that the whole thing is happening right in front of you. I mean, the movie has some actual depth, or let me put it differently. I can hold my hand right here and my other over there, and to you I'm just holding my hands like this, but if this was 3D, you'd actually notice the distance between these two. And that kind of worked quite well in this movie. Well, Scar as well as Saw 3D. I mean, with Scar, okay, yeah, you just had the impression that it was all happening right in front of you, making the whole thing look even more real. Which is one of my complaints with Avatar. The 3D aspect of it made the whole thing seem even more fake. But I'm not gonna rant about Avatar. The less I say about that movie, the better. But in case of Saw, given that the whole thing is about people in some kind of special contraptions, that there are these hard to reach places that they have to reach in order to survive their traps. And while you could actually this whole 3D thing of it made you actually feel what the character must be feeling when they're trying to reach for something You can actually tell that there's quite a distance between the hands and that's something that they are trying to reach. So really, in this movie that works perfectly fine. Maybe, just maybe, better than Scar. But, so yeah, I'd recommend watching this. I'd recommend you to watch this movie. Now, if there's any complaint I do have about this movie, well, you know the old gimmick where if you're watching a 3D movie, you have the impression that objects are leaving the screen. Well, they do have a few of those in this one, but they were rather pointless. I mean, there was this moment where an explosion is taking place and some piece of debris is because this explosion flying around and apparently even coming towards you. But if that didn't, I don't know, at least decapitate one of the characters, then I didn't really see the point of that being there. But that may be a bit nitpicking. And it doesn't really change much about the movie. I will stand by the following. Saw was good for one movie and maybe a sequel, but making a few more extra, well, that was unnecessary. And much like with the last Saw movie, as I already said in my video last year, this movie could have worked perfectly well if it was its own movie. Not another sequel, no, its own movie. Just keep the effects, keep the illusion, keep pretty much the contraptions, if you will. Just have it be its own movie. And risk it looking like a Saw ripoff, but anyway, I'd much rather. But anyway, even if it were a ripoff, it would make it more appealing rather than just another sequel. So that was these 3 movies for you. And let me just summarize. Devil, I wouldn't recommend. Buried wasn't that great a movie, but was watchable. And Saw 3D, well, if you can watch it in the theaters, do so, because if you're gonna wait for the DVD, it probably won't do it any justice. This was D, I'm signing off.